Hello and welcome. Thank you for coming to this hackathon workshop. My name is Sarah Dawson. I'm an engineer at Block Native, and today we're going to talk about something that I helped build at Block Native called Web3-Onboard. So first, who am I? I'm going to skip past the boring parts of my childhood and all of that, and skip right to when I made my first contribution to the Ethereum ecosystem back in 2017. This is the Pi Etherscan API module. Some of you may or may not have used it. Actually, if you guys know of Corey Petty from Status IM, he's the one who started this. Fun fact, my first commit to this was the day after the GDAX flash crash. This is back in 2017 when Ethereum was a whopping $300 and it crashed to 10 cents in seconds. But we know things like that don't happen anymore, right, in the Ethereum ecosystem. Next up, I did the classic drop out of college and get a job at Amber Data, where I worked there working on JavaScript SDKs, more API wrapper type stuff. Then I headed over to a company called OpenSea, where I worked there briefly for a little bit on doing some full stack development for them, back when there was about 7 people working at OpenSea, and that was a really fun experience. And finally, I landed at Block Native. Now, what is Block Native? Block Native is a Web3 infrastructure company, and we focus on the pre-chain layer. The pre-chain layer is what we call is everything that happens to something off-chain all the way up until it becomes on-chain. And so we have a global infrastructure of nodes, and we have these tools to help you manage that pre-chain layer. And one such tool is something called Web3-Onboard, and this is going to help your users onboarding onto your dApp. So we live in this multi-wallet, multi-chain world. Okay, and increasingly this landscape of new wallets popping up, new chains popping up, right? We want to make sure that your users can access their preferred wallets on their preferred networks. But this can kind of be challenging as developers. Maybe some of you have actually experienced these challenges before. So here's an example of a dApp that allows on the left-hand side here you have 3 options of wallets, or you have on the right-hand side 35 different wallets. Now. Also, what we have is the ability to access hardware wallets that you might not be able to access, and there's a lot of high-value users on those hardware wallets, right? Maybe we're talking about whales at this point, right? And not only that, but there's this the landscape of L2s is vast and it's rapidly increasing with new L2s popping up every day. And so users are moving to these L2s, and so we want to be able to capture those users, and we want to capture the engagement, right? But this can create not only user experience challenges, but also challenges for developers, trying to access these users. So some of you may have seen this on Twitter, but essentially it's well, how can we reduce user friction when it comes to these L2s, right? It's just think about it. Blockchain is already complicated enough, and now we're just adding layers to it, right? And so how do we simplify this? How do we make it easier for these users to interact with it? So at Block Native, we think there's a better way. So here's an example of Web3-Onboard. It shows you how you can seamlessly transition your users between different chains. And so as a core developer of Web3-Onboard, I had the opportunity to work with some amazing and intelligent people. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. Okay. To build this tool that enables us to kind of work in this pre-chain layer. Okay, so what is this thing I'm talking about up here? So we have support for the leading software and hardware wallets, right? And for me, when I was working on this, I didn't actually get it at first. I said, well, what is this onboard thing? Why do we need it? Okay? But then I started implementing hardware wallet modules. I don't know if anyone's worked with Keystone, Ledger, Trezor. There's so many of them, right? And everyone wants to use the wallet that they want to use. But when I started working on onboard and building out the code that is required to support these, that's required to support these hardware wallets, I quickly realized this is something that I would never want to have to deal with as a dApp developer. I want to focus on the core functionality of my dApp. I don't want to deal with this stuff. And it's there's some really tricky stuff going there. Seamless switching between networks. Again, it can get confusing for your users. Which network am I on, right? You don't want to have them send to an address that has that they can't access, right? Because they thought they're on this network, but then they sent to that address. This stuff happens, right? So this is really important for your users. So right here we have a one-line npm install. Okay, this is how you do it right here, super simple. And so this is the Web3 onboard core. In the demo today, I'm going to show you the React hooks that we actually use. We have a demo in our repo that's in Svelte, and it can show you how to kind of use that without the React hooks. But here's an example right here of how simple it is and how quick it is to integrate. Rapid prototyping. This is our React demo. It shows the full functionality of Web3 Onboard. Now, I encourage you to go there. If you can grab the link if you want, even go play around with it. But essentially, this is what we use for people to go there and go and test it out and play with it. What I built for today, for this demo, is like a slimmed down version of it to make it abundantly clear kind of what's going on with Web3 Onboard. And in terms of rapid prototyping, a little anecdote. Who was at ETH Denver? And who participated in the hackathon? Nice, couple of people. So I did as well, and for our hackathon project, we ended up using Web3 Onboard. I popped it in there, and then we focused on our dApp, and we ended up winning the virtual NFT track for the hackathon, which is really cool. So, okay, this is my favorite slide, to be honest. Okay, the features of Web3 Onboard. Minimal dependency. Web3 Onboard is modular, okay? And if you've ever done any web development, you know how important it is to make sure that you don't include dependencies that you don't want, right? Node.js developers know that dependency hell is a real thing. It keeps you up at night. And so with Web3 Onboard, it's modular. So include the modules that you want to use. Do you want to support? You don't want to support Trezor? Leave it out. Don't want to support MetaMask? Leave it out. So it enables you to really modularize your application, reducing the size. This is a really big ask because the original version of Onboard didn't have this, and so it ended up being this huge bloated library. But this one's a lot simpler. Multiple wallets and account connections. So this one's really key. I think this is super awesome. You could have Ledger, Trezor, Keystone, MetaMask, Binance Smart Chain, Coinbase Wallet, all connected to a single dApp. And we provide a really easy interface for interacting with those different connected wallets. And then obviously with each of those wallets, you can support multiple accounts within each wallet, right? And then we have multi-chain support. Again, I'll show you this in the demo, but it's going to make it really easy for you to manage those different networks and different chains that your users are going to want to interact with. And finally, or not finally, but the unified provider interface. So when building this thing, I don't know if anyone's ever has experienced this the same way I have, but we all know that the Ethereum provider, depending on the wallet, changes. It's non-deterministic. You call the request method and you expect something to happen, something else happens. You expect to get a certain error code back, but this provider decided to implement this error code, and that provider decided to implement this error code, right? So what you get with Web3 Onboard is this unified deterministic provider, okay? So whether you're interacting with Ledger or MetaMask, it's going to act the exact same. And to me, that was like mind-blowing. And obviously, we're all compliant with the specifications. And then finally, dynamic imports, which basically means that we load our dependencies on demand. So it reduces load times for your users, and it minimizes the bandwidth that's used. So nice. Okay. So now we're going to go hands-on with Web3 Onboard. You can either follow along or just watch me. Yeah. So I'll give you a chance to go there if you would like. On the GitHub, there's a Stack Blitz button. You can click that, and you can start playing around with it. Okay, you can all see that. If that's too hard to read, I could zoom in if people need. But okay, so on the right-hand side, this is my example dApp essentially. And what I'm going to do is, and I hope it works, right? This is technology. We never know what's going to happen. Let me refresh. Okay, and as soon as it comes back online, I have it up. Okay, oh, nope, there it is. Okay, so this is Web3 Onboard. It provides this beautiful interface for your users to go and select their wallet. Today we're going to use MetaMask. I didn't want to bring my Ledger up on stage. Connected. Boom. Okay, so right now I'm on Matic mainnet. You can see my address in the top right-hand corner. That gray blob that you see up there is because I don't have it's no ENS associated with it. But I'm going to switch now to Rinkeby. We're going to do our switch network modal here from MetaMask. And boom, there, we have my Rinkeby balance, and we have my ENS avatar. Yes, that was me at one point. Back when I had my hair was a lot shorter. And so, yeah, so that's kind of an example there. And so on the left-hand side, I'm going to kind of step through the code just to kind of show you what we're working with here. So earlier I said that Web3 Onboard is modular, okay? So what you see here are a list of these different wallet modules that your dApp can support. So I've just included a bunch of them. So if you want to go play around with the different modules. Today we're just interacting with the injected wallet module. And also I talked about something called, there's the Web3 Onboard Core module. This one's our React hooks. So in a second I'm going to show you how cool those are. Okay, so here we have the injected wallet module. So there's a custom array here, and you can put a custom injected wallet module in there. Basically, we have this like interface for wallet modules, and so what you can do is you can build your own. Like for instance, let's say some wallet just came out, and like, oh, I want to support this. Okay, go ahead and build your little custom wallet interface, pop it in there, and now you can support it. Obviously, we encourage you to go to our repo, and you can do a PR, and we'll look at that, and we can include it into the standard library essentially. But for now, you can do that. And then here's a filter. So this is a huge ask for us because there's people like, my dApp doesn't support this injected wallet, so I don't want them to be able to see it. Great, put it in here as the wallet label, and then they won't have to see that wallet. So this is just initializing a bunch of different, the rest of the modules, but we're going to skip that from now. Okay, so this is our init function that came from the Web3 Onboard React package. So we're going to look at here. This is our array of wallets that we're going to support in our dApp. And so basically up above, like you saw, we initialize them, we pop them in here, and those are the wallets that we're going to be able to support. Oh, and then to clarify, as the comment says, those are the wallets that your user is going to be presented with. That's what they're going to see. Here we have an array of chains that your dApp supports, okay? So there's a few things we add here. We have like the ID of the chain, the namespace, the token. This is going to be visible for your users. For instance, if you see in the upper right corner where it says rETH, that's because in here I set the token to symbol to rETH. And then there's the label. The label is what you see on the right-hand side too, Ethereum Ring-key testnet. And then obviously the RPC URL. If you're working with hardware wallets, you're going to need that in order to make your RPC requests. Scroll past that, and we have a little object here for the app metadata. So this is just some metadata that you can add to your dApp. It talks about the name of it. If you have a URL for like getting started, explore kind of like about your dApp, whatever, things like of that nature. And then finally, we have this, well, not finally, but we have this recommended injected wallets. So if your user doesn't have any like an injected wallet installed, but you want to point them to a specific wallet to install, we can add these here, and then the user is going to be prompted to go and install that wallet. So you probably have seen this on Uniswap, but you have to sometimes agree to terms of service before you go ahead and use the dApp. So right here is where you can put in your terms of service agreements so that the user can click that and agree to that before proceeding. And this part's kind of cool. It comes with internationalization built in, so you can create these internationalization objects in order to support different wallets. Or sorry, not different wallets, support different languages. And also you can use it to customize the text in certain parts of the dApp. So I'm going to scroll back up here and just kind of point out what we're doing. We're going to export this function called init Web3 Onboard. I'm going to move over to our main app here, up to the top, kind of tracking here. We're going to import that right here, the init Web3 Onboard function that we just looked at. We're going to call this outside of the app function. We're going to initialize Web3 Onboard. Okay, so also I wanted to point this out right here. So these are the 3 different hooks that Web3 Onboard React provides. We're going to walk through each one of them. So the first one, use Connect Wallet. This right here is the wallet, is like the first wallet that the user is connected to. So that's going to, in a second, I'm going to show you what that wallet's going to provide us with. It's going to have the provider on it. It's going to have the address, ENS, all these things that you need. Connecting is a Boolean indicating if the user is going through the connection process. You can use that to add your loading spinners. There's 2 functions here, one for connecting. So that was what was called in order to bring up that prompt. Disconnect, that's obviously used to disconnect your wallet. And then we have the set chain React hook. Chains is a list of chains that your dApp supports. So we saw that in initialization. You get the chains right here. This is what I'm going to use later. I'm going to show you to populate that select dropdown. Then we have the connected chain. This is obviously the currently connected chain. And then setting chain, same thing. A Boolean indicated that we're in the process of setting a new chain. And then finally, this is the, for people familiar with React, this is just to set the chain, right? So set the chain value. Okay, earlier we talked about multiple wallets, one dApp, right? So this right here is an array of connected wallets, and we can actually access that in order to access the different providers those different wallets provide. And as soon as that comes back, these are my, my state variables that I have here. We have an account, kind of a basic account object I'll show you in a second, which kind of holds the details, address, ENS, and balance of a user. And then we have the to address, which we're going to use for sending, and then the provider. Okay, so if there's a wallet defined, that means a user's connected. If wallet is null, a user's not connected. So once the wallet is defined, I'm going to pull the name and the avatar off the ENS object, and then I'm going to create this. I'm going to set the account to the address with the address, the balance, and the ENS. Okay, so this is right after the user connects. The next part here, I'm going to grab that provider. Now, this is the unified provider interface. Again, this is the provider I was talking about earlier, where we can call any of those methods that we're familiar with, and it's still it's compliant with those specifications. And then I have 3 functions here. We have the connect wallet function, disconnect wallet function, and the send transaction. Connect wallet is obviously pretty simple, but the disconnect is you have to provide a label, because if you have multiple wallets connected, you need to be able to specify which wallet you actually want to disconnect for the user. Okay, so again, if the wallet is defined, then we're connected. So then I'm going to show this. This component represents the top right corner, that little where the network is, that network dropdown. So we're going to go into there. And okay, so again, like it's really simple. Chains coming from our initialization. I use this to create my options for my select, and then I have my select element here. And on change, on option selected, we're going to call the set chain method, which we pass in the chain ID, and then that method gets called in the parent, which calls the set chain, and now our whole dApp is now ready to go with the new chain. Yeah, so that's the simple network component. And then we're going to go back to app, and we're going to go to the account details. So just so you can track, I'm just going to make a point that we're getting this account right here. I'm passing it to this component called account details. Okay, and again, this is like dead simple. If the account's defined, then try to pull out address, ENS, and balance. And this is, okay, so to point this out, there's balances. So if I had tokens on this account, there'd be a giant array of like token symbol mapped to the value, like how many, like my balance of that token. So I'm iterating through that, and I'm grabbing the first token balance, and I'm gonna truncate it to about 2, and then I display it there next to the symbol. So that's where I'm getting the, right here, that's where this is coming from. And scroll down further, because not everyone has an ENS avatar, even though they should. If it's defined, then we're going to show my avatar. If it's not defined, then you get that gray kind of blob I showed you earlier as like a filler. I will make a note, though, that it would be a good idea to, instead showing the gray blob, just show like a block C's maybe, something like that. And then finally, this line right here says, if we have an ENS name, display it. If we don't, is there an address? Then display the address and truncate it. If we don't have an address or anything, then we're probably not connected. So we're going to display that not connected text like you saw earlier. And then last but not least, we have an input. I'll highlight it. We have an input here that we can put our address in and send a transaction. So I'm actually going to do that now. So I'm going to switch to a different account, copy the address, switch back, paste my address in here, and initiate a send, 0.001. As you saw in the code, I didn't point it out, but you saw in the code, I hard-coded it for this example. And then boom. So now we're off. It's sending the transaction. We'll probably get a confirmation notification in a second. And then again, to kind of point out, I hooked up the send button to the send transaction function above. Right here. So this is where we're hard-coding the value. This is the provider, again, that we got from the wallet. And yeah, and so from there, we could just disconnect our wallet and kind of be done with it. So that's my quick overview of Web3 Onboard. I'm going to get back over here to our slides. So, yeah, so Web3 Onboard is pretty cool, but that's just like one aspect of the whole pre-chain layer. Actually, at Block Native, we have a few other things going on that will actually enable you to kind of manage that whole transaction lifecycle. This is something we specialize in here. Okay, so we have this thing called the Mempool Explorer, which is really cool. So basically, it allows you to filter on a real-time feed of transactions. You can specify an address, and then once you specify an address, you can filter on that transaction, all the properties you can think of. You can right here we have a filter based on the pending status of it. You can filter on the gas value, the above or below. You can filter on the most popular filter people do are contract methods, right? So if you're looking at Uniswap, you want to see swap ETH for because you're building these bots, right? So you want to respond to the swaps or adding liquidity, different things like that, and so you can add those filters. This was built because we had this really good, powerful filtering engine, but no one really knew what was kind of going on, so we needed a way to visualize it. So I'd encourage you, go play with it. It's explorer.blocknative.com. You can go play around with it, and then if you find it useful, we have JavaScript SDKs where you can go and access this data. It's only getting faster, and it's only getting more powerful. And then down here is the gas estimator. And then below that is our gas estimator extension. This is something I built last year. Actually, it came out right around the time, if you remember, Gas Now shut down, which is like a huge shock to the whole community. But the gas estimation extension came out just after that, which is great. It offers the ability to do notifications based on the gas price or base fee, things like that. I personally love it because while I'm working, I have it on, maybe I could show you, but I have it, there's a little badge that will show the base fee. So I'll be working and look up and go, oh wow, it's down to 20 gwei. It's really exciting. You go and execute your transaction. Yeah, and then there's other things like there's charts, historical gas prices all built into that extension. I'm currently working on another cool feature that's going to be released pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. I encourage you to get that. Okay, so yes, that's me. That's what we do. That's Web3 Onboard. That QR code is for our Discord. If you end up using Web3 Onboard at the hackathon, go into our Discord and we'll be there to answer your questions. We have the best-in-class support. All of our engineers are in there all the time. There's always someone that's going to be there to help you. I'll be there as well to help anyone who has any issues with implementing Web3 Onboard. And with that, I'm going to leave this up. And then if there's any questions so thank you. I'll try my best to answer them. Oh. This used to be Onboard.js? Yes. This used to be Onboard. This is the next iteration of the V1 of Onboard. So, yeah. Which chains are we live on? We support all the EVM chains. Yeah.
What does the free tier support?
The free tier. Oh, so right now you don't. An API key isn't required, so you can just go ahead and. So free tier is basically getting real-time notifications, essentially.
And for the authentication for the wallet connect.
For Wallet Connect?
Yeah. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Oh, you're good. Are you talking about Block Native's free tier?
Yeah, the demo you were just giving.
Yeah. That's all free.
It is
Free, open source. Yeah. Go look at the code. Commit something. Yeah. We'll include your PR. Yeah.
You have a pricing page that.
Yes, we do have an API, and that's where it comes down. If you're writing a trading bot and you want the lowest latency pending transactions, go ahead and you can sign up for our more paid tiers, so you can have a more high performance bot and take an opportunity of those money making opportunities on chain. But yeah, for this is completely free. Yeah.
Are you guys hiring?
Yes, we are, Dave. Thanks for asking. We are hiring, specifically even, we're looking for more front-end developers. I know personally I'm completely buried, so if you're interested, hit one of us up. I'm Taylor, that's Dave, I work with Dave, that's Rich. Talk to any one of them if you're looking for a job, but yeah. Anything else? Nope, good. Thank you all, I appreciate it.